Welcome to another fun-filled edition of the weekend edition of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakeena McGee, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
And you can follow this program for this podcast, Second City Sports, which is part of War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. We're also on iHeartRadio. When you download the iHeartRadio app, please type in that search engine box, War on Anchor. You can search for Second City Sports and all of our other programming from War Media. And we're also on YouTube at War Media. That's WARR Media. You can not only hear us do our thing, but you can watch us live. Here we are. Hello.
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 We got it.
Let's not blame Lamont, even though he's not here this week. So, but
right.
we're working on it. We're working on it.
Still practicing. We're still practicing. All right, we'll be joined by ESPN's Brooke Weisbrod in a little bit. But Sid, the MLB has announced all their postseason winners, and if you guys listened to the previous podcast from Monday, we were wrong on most of them, but we were right on some of them too. Of course, the headliner for here in Chicago, Jose Abreu, has won MVP for the White Sox. He's the fourth White Sox to do it, the fourth Cuban-born player to win the honor. And I think we called this early in the season, condensed season and all, but I think this is very deserving by him. And if you saw his emotion when they announced the winner on MLB Network, you can kind of felt that emotion for him. And you guys who know his story, he came here a few years ago. He left his family behind, and then his family was finally able to join him. He was able to kind of settle in and sort of being the great player that he has become. So, Sid, what do you think? Do you think it's deserving? Of course, I'm sure you think it's deserving as well. But tell us your thoughts.
I think of course, he was deserving of the award. He was the best player in the American League from day one until the end of the regular season. I know you had other candidates as Nelson Cruz from Minnesota, DJ LeMahieu of the Yankees as well. He had a couple other guys chipping in their bid. I know Tim Anderson was in it for a while. Luis Robert, the rookie outfielder for the White Sox, was in it for a minute. But Jose Abreu was consistent from day one until the last day of the regular season. He played every game, which is commendable, even though it was a shortened 60-game season. He had 19 home runs, averaged .317, and he had 76 hits off of 240 plate appearances, scored 43 runs, collected 60 RBI, only walked 18 times, and his OPS was at 370. How can you argue with those numbers? And we had our friends and colleagues and experts on throughout the season, and I expressed my opinions to them that I thought that this was the year that Jose Abreu would take a step back because he didn't have to carry a team like he did throughout most of his career. But as we saw throughout the season, one of the main reasons why that White Sox offense is so dangerous it was because of Jose Abreu. Yes, Tim Anderson set the table. Yes, Luis Robert did his thing. Yes, you had Edwin Encarnacion here and there, hit home runs. He had other guys contributing, but Jose Abreu had monster numbers because of the contributions of those other guys. His numbers obviously did not take a step back. It actually improved because he had better talent around him in that lineup.
Yeah, he was top 5 in the AL in many categories. In RBIs, where he was tied for the league. He finished second in home runs, finished fourth in overall batting average. So this is very deserving for him, and he was consistent throughout the 60 games. Yes, it was only 60. I know people want to kind of makes it say like all these awards should have an asterisk since it was only a shortened season, but still, you can't argue with the numbers. And he was a big part of the White Sox going back to the postseason for the first time in a dozen years, and he was one of the main reasons why. So I think this is totally deserving. This is very, he's very worthy of this award, and we'll see. I know there's been some other stuff that kind of came out off the field. We won't discuss it. We'll probably wait to discuss it on another podcast. But if you're a White Sox fan, you gotta be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, so if you're a White Sox fan, you should feel pretty good because coming into 2020, COVID or no COVID, this team was expected to take the next step. And they did by making the playoffs. Of course, they made a managerial change at the end of the year to bring in Tony La Russa. And so there'll be targets on their back to expect them to win the whole thing within the next couple of years. Now, Jose Abreu, thank goodness he's going to be a part of it for the next couple of years, of which the contract that he signed in the off season. So he's one of the cornerstones, not only on the field, but off the field as well. He's helping Yohan Moncada, who struggled this past season. Of course, he had COVID, but he's also a barrier between manager Rick Renteria and the rest of the Cuban-born players on that team. So he's kind of what you call, in a respectful way, the grandfather of that clubhouse. So he's really one of the cornerstones for this franchise.
Yeah, definitely. Probably. I know we say that maybe Eloy is a face or that maybe Tim Anderson is a face, but you got to think that Jose Abreu is probably the face of the White Sox right now, even though, yes, he's a little older than both of them, but you got to think he's kind of the face of the team because of his consistency.
Yeah, so he is the face of consistency for the White Sox lineup. As I mentioned before, he had to carry the lineup as the team was going through his transitions, trying to find the key players. And even though he had a couple of down years around 2015, 2016-ish, he had still put up respectable numbers. As I mentioned before, when the better talent started to come around for the last couple of years, it only made him that much better.
All right, let's go through some of these awards. The rest of these award winners real quick. Freddie Freeman won NL MVP. I know we all picked Mookie Betts, but Freddie Freeman was deserving. He actually finished second in OPS in the league. Finished leading the league in runs. I think the numbers. I know you picked Betts because of what happened. They kind of inspired the Dodgers, but numbers wise, individually, I think Freddie Freeman was definitely deserving for the NL MVP.
Yes, I was going to make a big fuss about it, but it's really going to fall on deaf ears. I'm not going to say that Mookie Betts was robbed, but we all know that the game of baseball is a game of numbers, and Freddie Freeman deserved it based on that. But I think the bigger impact, I know Lamont's talked about it all year long as well, that Mookie Betts has had a better impact on the Dodgers. We already knew that the Dodgers were a stacked team from top to bottom with their hitting and their pitching, but the Dodgers, their game was taken to the next level thanks to Mookie Betts. Joining us right now, she's a Chicago native. We'll discuss that later, even though she's born in Cincinnati, Ohio. She's the college basketball reporter and analyst for ESPN. She's also a sneakerhead, and we'll get into that later. We're also going to talk about her career going up to this point. She's the one, the only, the beautiful and talented Brooke Weisbrod. You can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Brooke Weisbrod. Once again, at Brooke Weisbrod. Brooke, welcome to the program. How are you?
Thanks, guys. Nice introduction. And yes, I do feel like a Chicagoan at this point. Like, I wasn't born here, but I say I was made here.
Right, exactly. You're an official Chicagoan, Brooke, now. So
thank you. Appreciate that, Tina. How are y'all doing today?
We're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing just fine.
Ready to talk some hoops.
Yes.
I'm ready. Been ready since March. Jeez.
Tell us your thoughts about that, because neither the men's or the women's, tournaments took place. We were disappointed. Sid and I were disappointed when we first started doing this because of, March Madness. I thought on the women's side there was a good 15, 20 teams that probably could have won it on the women's side, and also probably the same two on the men's side. So what did you think about what transpired when both men's and the women's tournaments were canceled?
Disappointing, and it was the right thing to do. I was actually flying into Dallas when I got the news, and opened my phone. I landed in Dallas, opened my phone, and scheduled a flight back to Chicago, and I've basically been here ever since. I'm with you though. I think this year we had the most parity we've probably ever had in the women's game, and to me it was going to come down to South Carolina or Oregon, and I was Team Sabrina all day. So I just thought the destiny was there, and the Kobe magic would have followed her all the way to a championship this year. So it was a bummer to see that, the tournament didn't take place, and, we're just fans, and we work in the industry. I can't even imagine being a college basketball player, what that felt like for them. Some of them literally getting pulled off the floor, as they were playing. But certainly the responsible thing to do. And, it's crazy to think we're basically still in the same position. We're actually worse than we were in March in terms of cases. We've got no vaccine. We got half the country still not acknowledging that they should be wearing a mask. It's a hot mess. But I give credit to the kids who are still out there, working, and they're just controlling what they can. They're trying to get better. These coaches are trying to implement practice plans with 6 kids, and they've got, some cases. Then they're trying to reschedule games and figure out a bubble. And I guess what's frustrating, I'm sure not only for them, but for the rest of us, is that there's been no clear plan. There's been no leadership, no direction on how to contain this thing. And, here we are, a week or 2 out from the season. And it's like, well, what are we doing? Well, and what do you expect? Without any leadership, you really can't have expected to have anything planned at this point. So everybody's just been up to themselves.
Myself, along with Lakeena, we've been having those talking points throughout the summer, Brooke, about college football. You saw how that played out. Of course, they didn't start on time. Of course, the Power 5 conferences, they're running by their own merit. Like you say, when you don't have leadership at the top, I hate using this phrase, but I'm just using it respectfully for this conversation. You let the inmates run the asylum. We saw that in college football. Of course, the Pac-12 joined in late. And, of course, they had to have a couple of games postponed last week due to positive testing throughout a couple of the teams. But getting back to basketball, I'm just asking this question in general. I was actually looking forward to the women's tournament this year. I'll admit I don't watch it as much, but I have been keeping up with it for the past couple of years, and I'll bring the WNBA into this as well. Do you think that women's sports in general, in particular basketball, has given the respect that it deserves over the last few years?
Not given, but started to notice, right? We see again the last 2 years, the ratings for the WNBA have been up double digits, and I want to say it was still in the 30s this year. And even you see the NBA ratings decline, but you see the WNBA ratings improve. So I think we're starting to see people taking notice, and that's really, really encouraging. You're seeing more media outlets, more social media outlets being created and covering the game. And I mean, that's just awesome, because here are the best athletes in the world. Basketball is the same game. And, I guess my point was always like, it's not these ladies' jobs to market themselves, to put people in the seats, to sell tickets. Like, that's what the executives are for. That's what the media is for. That's what we're all here to do. So it's really encouraging to see that it's on the up and up. I don't think we've even scratched the surface. I think the pinned tweet I still have in my Twitter account is that, less than 1% of sponsorships goes to women's athletics. And I just can't believe that, because it's like, well, you don't think we have money? Like, we're out here sneakerheads. We're out here we want the gear. The hoodie got sold out. What else you guys got? Like, give us more stuff to buy and we will buy it.
Exactly. And it's nice to see, cause I know you did analyst work for the Sky for a couple of years. So it's nice to see that even here in Chicago, people are seeing that, hey, you know what? The Chicago Sky team, the WNBA, is actually pretty good. They got Allie Quigley, who I've been a fan of since she was at DePaul. It's nice to see that her game has transcended in the WNBA. James Wade, who's a great coach, is probably one of the rising coaches in WNBA. And I think I like the fact that it's good to see that people are watching the WNBA here in Chicago. They are watching the Sky, and the Sky has had playoff success. So what do you think? Can they kind of sustain it? Can other WNBA kind of as a whole kind of sustain this sort of momentum?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's really growing, and I give them a lot of credit for the way that they, not only were able to handle the bubble, but I mean, the WNBA is leading the social justice movement, period. NBA can go out and try to claim it all they want, but it's been the ladies since a few years ago when the Minnesota Lynx came out and wore shirts made their statement and, got basically, in a way reprimanded for it and still stood their ground. And it's just amazing to see when athletes are put in that position, not only to perform, but to be, to stand up for justice and to stand up for what's right. You really start to see the effects of it. And, we're seeing that now in Georgia with, with the runoff elections now and the impact that could have and really what the WNBA started. So like, I'm really proud of how far it's come, where it's gone. And this was going to be the Sky's year. And unfortunately you saw injury after injury. You got to have Diamond DeShields a part of that team. Like she is so essential. Sloot, Quigley, and Diamond DeShields. Like I don't know if you can get a better backcourt than that. Well, I mean, Sue Bird is pretty good as well,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, she still got it.
Yeah.
I
She
don't
still
want
got
to
it.
be stepping on Sue's shoes, but we're Chicago fans, so I love our backcourt.
Brooke Weisbrod of ESPN is joining us here on Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sydney Brown. Brooke, let's go over to the NBA. The Board of Governors, along with the Players Association, have approved the 72-game season, which starts on December 22nd. Free agency starts next Friday, November 20th. The draft is on Wednesday. But I'll ask you this question first. I know there was talks about starting the season on Martin Luther King Day in January. Some, of course, LeBron James and the players, quote unquote, they wanted to start later, and understandably so, because they were the last. One of the last teams to play in the NBA Finals back in October, of course. Teams like the Warriors and the Bulls, they haven't played since March, so they wanted to get the season going. I wanted to ask you, was that the right situation for the league to start around Christmas? Because we all know that it comes down to money. Do you think that was the right decision, or did you think they could have started later?
That's a really good question, and I really trust the Players Association and, Chris Paul, who heads up that, is one of the big, in the big leadership roles there. I think those guys have a great rapport between them and the league. And I don't know, honestly, that I have an opinion. I mean, of course, I'd love for it to start, sooner, to have something to watch as a fan. As COVID is concerned, I don't know how like the Warriors are trying to spend all this money to have testing done and have fans in the stands. And I mean, we know, I don't know and have experience, but you can only imagine the impact of playing a game without fans in the stands for those guys. Having watched it, it's, it's different. It's weird. And I think TV did a tremendous job of trying to recreate what that atmosphere is. And so I read, where the Warriors are taking every precaution in terms of like testing. People can't sit, I think like the first 6 rows, they're going to be plexiglass. You can't eat or drink if you're sitting in those closed seats. So they're trying, right? And I think because we all don't know what this is, we don't have a plan. That's all you can do at this point is try. To me, like I look at Chicago's positivity rate, we're over 12%. It's like, we were just at 2%, and Mayor Lightfoot was talking about, well, if it gets up to 4%, we're going to, really have to take strong measures. Like, where they at? The whole country should be locked down right now.
Yeah.
We went from 2 to 4 to 12. Like, this is scary. And yes, I would love for entertainment and normal life to be back. We are not there. We are skyrocketing in cases right now. So, selfishly, I want the game to be back. I want to be traveling myself. I want to be calling college basketball games. I don't want to see anybody die, any more people die because of COVID, because we're all wanting to get back to normal life. And I mean, this sucks, but like, let's bite the bullet and get rid of this thing.
And also the travel thing too. That's going to be the big issue here. Sid and I were, and Lamont, our friend Lamont, and our other friend Jason were talking about it too, that it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to keep it regional? Or are they going to maybe just, all the East Coast teams play East and, divisional games and such, and also same about West. So what do you think is going to happen with the scheduling?
Yeah, how are you going to do that? And I mean, for the NBA, they all have private planes to fly around and do their thing. For colleges, I know that they were trying to schedule, like say within their conference, do back-to-backs and try not to do overnights and all of these types of things. But again, it's not like each team has a scientist and a doctor of, epidemiology and infectious disease to make sure everything is okay. So, how do you control that? Because we've already seen some of the WNBA players who've gone overseas have contracted the virus as well. So it just goes to show it's, they're not immune to it. Anybody can get this thing. And again, we don't know the effects of each person that it's having. Some people is nothing. Some people are migraines. Some people we're finding have mental illness 3 and 4 months after the fact, trouble breathing, heart problems. It's like, it just makes no sense to me why we're risking all of this for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah, sticking with college basketball, Brooke, of course, the news came out yesterday that the Ivy League has canceled its winter sports, including college basketball, for the 2020-21 winter sports season. I was going to ask you, we talked about lack of leadership with the NCAA at the top. There's no leadership. Have you gotten a memo from ESPN yet, or where you will be traveling, or do you know when the season starts? Because I know we've been lost in the shuffle with all the other sports, but it seems like the NCAA is, it seems like college basketball is usually supposed to start now, but it's going to start later this month or maybe early next month. Have you got a memo from ESPN on when this is going to start and when you're going back to work?
So I have not received a schedule just yet, which is definitely different from years past. And what I do know is that I will be setting up my office upstairs with some production equipment to call games from home. So I just moved into this house. So like, I only have a gray wall upstairs in my office. So I'm like, I got to decorate. So this is like my first, it's hard to see, I guess, but it's a drawing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg playing basketball. So that's like one of the things that I've gotten, but yeah, I think it starts with the conferences. The conferences need to get their schedules in place. And like I just saw the SEC release their schedule today. So that's kind of how the dominoes fall. The conferences have to get their schedules in alignment. Then they give it to, basically like our programming department, who take a look at, what the best matchups are. They put those games in the right slots, whether it's, a primetime game on ESPN, or ESPN2, or like a lower viewership type game that might go on ESPNU or even news. From there, that's when the assignments are handed out, to the talent. So I've just tried to stay out of bugging my bosses for a schedule, because I know that they're getting bugged.
Yeah, we understand.
I get it. Yeah,
right.
I'm sure they
so
are.
Patience is not my strong suit, but 2020 has taught me you better learn. You better learn. So the answer, I guess, to your question is no, not a whole lot, other than likely calling games from home, which is what you've seen a lot of from announcers this year.
Yeah, it is definitely a different, aspect, a different dynamic. You guys are so used to being on campus, talking with the fans and whatnot. Now you guys are going to be, calling games, because we've seen it this year, so far with the college football for the most part. Is it going to be weird having to call games from your home office?
Well, I'm grateful that I moved out of the city to the suburbs, because there is no way I could call a game from the middle of Chicago in between sirens and, roommates.
Right, that's true.
Like, gotcha. So in that sense, like I'm grateful now I have this space. I've done it before, calling games remotely. It's, obviously it's not ideal, and you lose a lot of the creativity that you're able to have when you're on site, when you can read body language, when you're not, you're only given cameras 1 or 2 when you're looking at a screen. So you can do the job. It's my 16th, 17th year. Like, I know how to do it. I love it. And, you can sit down and just watch a game and call it. The unfortunate part comes with that chemistry you develop with coaches, with players, with the students and the fans that are there, and the atmosphere. There's no mistaking what that is. And that's the hard part of losing that connection, not only for us, but again, for the athletes and the coaches and the university and the students who go there, who pay tuition to go there, who can't attend to these games right now. So what we do, likely we'll have Zoom meetings and Zoom calls just like this. I'll plan to read absolutely as much as I can, and probably ask coaches if they're willing to let me watch, practice videos and practice film, because you can still pick up things. And, you know, no matter what, like, we have to create something out of what we're given right now. You know, you can't just kind of throw your hands up and be like, well, this sucks. You know, we can't do this. Because as long as they're going to be playing, like, I'm grateful to have an ability and opportunity to call the games.
Brooke Weisbrod of ESPN and a Chicago homegirl joining us here on Second City Sports, along with Lakeena McGee. I'm Sydney Brown. Brooke, let's turn the page and let's focus in on your career. We're going to have some fun with you for these last several minutes here. When I first discovered you, of course, which led me to watching you on ESPN, was there was a short-lived sports radio station called 87.7 The Game here in Chicago. You worked on the famous Cap and Hall show with David Kaplan and David Hall, and you were the update anchor for that show. How did you get that position? What was that experience like?
So Cap was instrumental in helping get me on the show. And I'll tell you a funny story about how I got to know Cap. From 2005 or 4 till basically till about 2012. I had a regular career in sales. I was in scrap metal sales and metal sales, which is like the most opposite thing you could ever do from TV, but you know, that's what I was doing. And Cap was speaking at this networking event out in Lake Lombard at, you know, some women of metal industry networking night, like just the most random event ever. And knowing who he was, I thought, I'm gonna bring my reel. So I put together, you know, my little DVD, my reel, and I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, you know, would you take a look at this? And that's how we got to know each other. And so we just kept a rapport over the next few years. And I remember having lunch with him and thinking, like, you know, wow, I would love to be his Robin Quivers to his Howard Stern type of personality, but in a sports sense. So the game, you know, came about, and unfortunately it was short-lived. It was such an awesome experience, and one that was like, when people talk about the grind, like, I really have a lot of respect for Cap for what he does. He does 3 hours of radio, TV. The man, you know, gets up at probably 4:30 in the morning, works out twice a day, and is able to carry on a radio show for that long. Like, that takes an incredible amount of focus, energy, passion, and, you know, and he has all that. Sometimes it was like so much that I was like, I don't even know if I want to get involved in this conversation, but like, why do I got to tell you that Jay Cutler is the worst quarterback in the history of the Bears, and why do we still have him? This is like, what are we doing? And so, you know, it was interesting, and, you know, I just, you know, we started to get into some pretty serious and heated conversations, and like that was really different for me. You know, I've never been in those types of situations where radio is like, no, you're going to be on here for a long time. You better have an opinion. You better have some things to kind of back that up. So it really challenged me in that sense to be strong and to be truthful in my word. And I enjoyed it, and I miss it so much. You know, I wish things had gone differently and we would have been able to carry it, because it seemed like it was really getting some steam. But, you know, for me, like, I know I don't want to talk about football for 3 hours a day. Like, no, like, I can't do it. And unfortunately, like, there's not really a space to talk about the Bulls or, you know, that type of like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that is a platform here that Chicago's ready to receive. If it was, I'd be right there and ready to do it.
Yeah. Do you think that kind of made you a better analyst, though? Even though, you know, you were, you know, talking about sports that you're not comfortable, know too much about, but do you think it made you a better basketball analyst?
I think it made me a better writer, and I think it made me a better reporter on the air, because, you know, there were some days where, you know, I got some of the stats and the updates wrong, and you know, and I heard about it, and it makes you be like, you know, this is not a place where you can have mistakes. And, you know, Lakeena, you and I know, and Sydney, you can probably empathize with this, but like, women have no room for error. We have no freaking room. So if I say Oregon and it's Oregon State, like, people are going to just say that I'm the dumbest person on the planet, which is like crazy, because you hear men make mistakes all the time on the air. So it helped me definitely develop a thicker skin. It helped me to have like a quicker wit and sense of humor about myself, and just to take things in stride, because you are going to mess up and you are going to have really uncomfortable and awkward conversations. And and I'd say also, Lakeena, like, yeah, it made me a better analyst, but analyst in humanity, because news comes out about, and this is, going back years ago, but, Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice, those were like the big topics that were going on at the time. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm the CEO of the NFL, like, you're not going to play for me anymore. And I can find plenty of guys who don't have domestic violence on their record who also are good football players. Why do we have to give these guys another chance? It's not, oh, they need a job. Like, they can go shovel snow. They can go be an Uber driver. I don't care. But if I'm running a league, I don't want domestic violence as a part of the stain of a league that I'm trying really hard to uphold the reputation for. So I really got to like stand in those strong opinions and really feel like the vitriol from people who didn't agree with me. And it was like, dang, okay.
Yeah.
okay. This is what I get. All right.
Brooke, you're also involved with community work here in Chicago. Of course, a friend of this show and the other show that I produced, the D and Davis Show, Now That Davis Show, is your good friend and our good friend, Cameron Smith from MSG and CN100. You guys are involved with community work and out doing projects around the Chicagoland area. Tell our audience, how did you get involved in making a difference, not just in people's lives, but also in young African-American children's lives?
Well, yeah, shout out to Cameron, because I feel like he's so connected. And, especially this summer when, we were having a lot of the, situations with stores getting broken into and communities needing cleaned up. It was just like, hey, Cam, where you at? Let me come meet you and let's do some cleanup work. But initially I was trying to create a method of income for times in between the college basketball seasons. And I was like, oh, I'll just do some camps and make some money. Like, that was going to be the easiest thing in the world, where learning professional athletes hold free camps and they still have trouble getting kids to attend. So seeing that, and then really seeing the need for Chicago kids to have a safe place to play. We all know when the weather gets nice here, it means more trouble for shootings and situations where kids can't go outside. And, I didn't grow up like that. My mom was like, get out of the house. Don't come back here till it's dark, and
same here.
Right.
Me too.
I mean, that's the
Me
way.
too,
Yeah.
right. Good times.
Right. And we were so fortunate for that. And I never want to take that for granted, because I can't believe now that that's the situation for kids, is that they can't go to a playground and play because they might get shot. Like, it's just so sad. And I wanted to do something about that, rather than be like, oh, poor them, because that doesn't help any kind of a situation either. So Skills and Score is a nonprofit organization. We put on free sports and arts camps for Chicago public school kids. And, we have the programming. We need a little help with the space. We could use a little help with, getting some t-shirts or food and all those kind of things. But really, like, I love the fundamentals of the game, and we try to teach rhythm dribbling and teamwork and footwork and all the little things that we would have picked up in basketball camp, where, again, like, those things don't exist anymore. Kids walk into a gym and they're trying to shoot a 3 from half court. And I'm like, no, let's come over here. Let's just shooting.
Exactly. Come on.
Let's get your form down. Then let's step back a foot and, really work on that. So it's kind of like just being old school about it, which, I mean, I hate that word. I don't want to be thinking about us as old school, but dang, here we are.
There you go.
Exactly. Let's lighten it up a little bit here, Brooke, in these last few minutes we have with you. Your sneaker collection. I mean, I remember years ago when you were on the game, the old 87.7 the game, you were talking about your sneaker collection. Now, has your sneaker collection grown? And do you have a particular space or room in your house for said sneaker collection?
Well, I kind of laugh at the term sneakerhead, because I feel like I am not educated enough to be a sneakerhead. Sneakerheads know the model. They are on the sneakers app. They know when things are getting released. I am a sneaker appreciator. And I do have, since I was telling you guys, I just moved. So I got a huge shoe rack and kept my shoes downstairs because I'm trying to be good about not wearing shoes in the house. And I would say my collection hasn't grown because I also try to give shoes away as, as the years go on and things like that. So I'm very appreciative for anything that, comes my way through Nike or Jordan. And, I just got a new pair of I think the Kyrie 7s that came through a couple weeks ago. I absolutely love them. And yeah, it's really like Jordans are it for me. I mean, if the 1s and the 11s, you can't get enough of those. So if Nike or Jordan's watching, I mean, you guys, I'll rep you hard. You know that.
Love it.
Lakeena stole my last question from me, Brooke, but I'll keep it as my thing. I do have a kind of a surprise for you. I love Jordans just like everybody else, but there's a few pair of shoes that people have been sleeping on. For those listening exclusively on the podcast, I'll explain it the best way I can. You can go to our YouTube page at War Media to check this out. But I have just a couple of pair just to show everybody. They're better than Jordans. I am showing the red LeBron James 13s. These you cannot get enough of. I bought these earlier this year, bro, of course, when everything was shut down. Thank you to eBay. All these babies are rocking solid. You can't go wrong with the red. And look with the star on the side. And, of course, you got the Nike swoosh. So you can't go wrong with that. And I also have, and I bought these for my birthday. So this is LeBron James 14, also the red with the black stripes. So I don't want to make you jealous or anything, but I just want to show people out there. I love George just like everybody else, but there's also a few pair of shoes there. They can be in the same room with Jordan. I just want to tell some of the young kids that.
I agree with
you. One more pair, the 95.
No, those are my favorite. Yeah. Tempos, come on.
Yes. These are the special edition Chicago Bulls Scottie Pippen edition. The year that Michael Jordan came back, 95, the black and the red.
Dude,
make it around a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I bought these two a few months ago. Yes.
Yeah. Those are nice. Yeah. And I agree with you on LeBron's shoes. Where I started to fall in love with his were the 15 and 16s. And it's funny, I actually wore those. I was going downtown yesterday and I didn't want to drive. So I took the train and ended up walking about 8 or 9 miles yesterday, all in LeBron's. And I'm like, God, they're so comfortable, man. Like he needs to do this. So I agree. LeBron, I think they got better as his model got a little bit, more sophisticated.
Yep. Totally agree. Last question for me. Back to college hoops first, like with everything going on, Seton Hall, they've now had to pause some of their basketball teams, and they may have to, push back on some of their scheduling. Do you think, and also a few others too, do you think there's going to be a basketball season? Will it start on time? Will we actually have a tournament next spring?
That's such a good question. I don't know, like everybody else, right? I think they're planning for it. And I think you're really going to find out in the next week, because I've read some articles that say, hey, let's push back into starting just the conference season. Selfishly, yes, I would love to, because that means I'm working. And I'm okay with whatever happens, because it's more the safety of the kids, the coaches, and the students that I really care about. And it's hard because, I thought last March, I was like, wow, I can really see it being another year and a half before I work again. And here we are. And it's like, that's a real possibility.
All right. That was Brooke Weisbrod of ESPN college basketball analyst and reporter. Brooke, before we let you go, I just want to give you 2 thumbs up on your post on IG a couple of weeks ago during the election. I know you were helping out kids. I actually made a comment on your post that you were busting out the Running Man, showing the new kids a little something.
Really?
Where did that come from?
Still got a little something, I'm a 90s child, so we don't lose that rhythm,
I love it.
You gotta show them what's up. I like that. I like that.
That's
Even though I am a Black American with two right feet, but I'll give you props for that. I'll give you props.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate this. This is cool.
This was so much
All
fun,
right,
Brooke.
bro.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Good luck with everything, and we'll have you on again soon, okay?
Can't wait. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Thank you, you too.
All right, and that was Brooke Weisbrod of ESPN. She's the college basketball analyst and reporter. Lakeena, did you have fun for these past several minutes?
That was a lot of fun. You know, I've been a fan of hers. You know, I actually remember I didn't get a chance to, but I actually remember actually watching her play over at Coastal Carolina. So, I've known
Yeah.
about Brooke, you know, for a lot of years now, and I'm glad she's doing well. And she actually, you know, I'm glad she kind of agrees with us with a lot of, you know, what's been going on, especially with the college hoops, especially because I think Seton Hall, I think UConn, you know, there's talked about maybe they might want to delay the start of their schedule. And on the women's side, I think Cal State Northridge, I believe, you know, they've canceled their season because a lot of their players have opted out because of, you know, COVID concerns. So it's going to be very interesting to see if and when the hoop season starts, you know, and if we do have a tournament this year. So I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm hopeful that we have a tournament this year, Lakeena, because we talked about it when we started doing our shows remotely, that the March Madness, just of course, it brings in a whole lot of money to all these programs. We all know that from a business side of it. But from the other side of it, as a sports fan, especially the first 3 days of the tournament, of course, it starts with Selection Sunday with the kids' reaction, especially on those schools on the bubble. Then you get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the first weekend of the tournament. There's just nothing like it. And, of course, you wrap it up with the Final Four, the first weekend in April. And we didn't have that this past year. So I just hope that history does not repeat itself from that standpoint. Of course, we had our good friend Spiro Ditas from Turner Sports and CBS on earlier this year. And, he calls college basketball games for CBS. And he said the same thing. It was like, the kids had to learn that everything in life you can't control, which is true. And I thought that we would have saw something magical. What that would have been, we'll never know, unfortunately. And that's something that we're going to have to live with. But like I said, I hope history doesn't repeat itself coming this season for college basketball. However they do it, I just hope that they do it safely and we can get March Madness back this year. I'm confident in that. Not saying we're not going to have a bumpy road, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to see it this year.
I hope
I'm just
so.
hoping like everybody else.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I mean, I'm hoping because, you know, we were, like Brooke said, we were robbed of perhaps maybe seeing Sabrina Ionescu perhaps maybe capping off her career with a championship, you know, with Kobe and everything else. So I hope so. I mean, it's good. Like you said, it's probably going to be a couple of bumps in the road, but I'm hoping, you know, fingers and toes crossed that we do get a chance to have a college hoops season for both the men's and the women's.
Yes.
All right, so you want to finish up our baseball discussion real quick before we take a timeout, or do you want to take time out now?
Yeah, let's finish. Just a couple thoughts on the baseball. I know we were kind of interrupted there, but it was a good interruption. But just to wrap on the baseball, of course, Freddie Freeman won the NL MVP award for 2020. Yes, baseball is about numbers, but I thought that Mookie Betts had a bigger impact on the Dodgers. Yes, they were a stacked team, but I thought he made a bigger impact. You saw that throughout the regular season. Yes, it's a regular season award. I understand it, but you saw that in the playoffs as well. And if it wasn't for his defense and his intensity, the Dodgers wouldn't have won the whole thing. Congrats to Freddie Freeman for winning the award. I'm not going to make a big fuss out of it here. I'm not going to say that Mookie Betts got robbed or anything like that, because I really don't have anything, just fake outrage. I'm not going to do that, but I would have given him that award, but I'm not going to, create fake outrage. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, I'm not gonna gripe about it either. Like you said a lot of times with these awards, it's about the numbers. And Freddie Freeman had the numbers. Like I said, he was, top 3 in many of the categories in the National League in the hitting category. So I'm not gonna gripe about it. Like I said, he was my sleeper pick, if not Mookie. So it happened. So not gonna gripe about it too much. Now for the Cy Young Awards, we actually got these right. Shane Bieber, the first unanimous choice for AL since 2011, had a record 41.1% strikeout rate, had the lowest qualified ERA 1.63, since '69. So he definitely was deserving of the Cy Young in the AL.
Yeah, he may be one of the cornerstones for the Indians going forward, as they may be in another off season of trade rumors once again, as we talked about on this show the last couple of years. Lakeena, Terry Francona, their manager, he's managed some good teams in Cleveland, but they don't have the same financial resources as the Cubs, the White Sox. Yeah, I said it. The White Sox, the Red Sox, or the Yankees and the Mets. I know they had a sale recently, so. It's unfortunate for Cleveland. They can't compete for longer stretches like these other big market teams can. So, but congratulations to Shane Bieber. As we said on the show, he was the best pitcher from start one to the last start of the season. So he's one of the best young pitchers coming up in MLB.
Yeah, absolutely, totally deserving. Also in the NL, unfortunately, Yu Darvish finished second, but we all figured that it was going to be Trevor Bauer's Cy Young to win, and it was. He led the NL in ERA, had a ERA plus, had a WHIP of .79. So you can't really beat those types of numbers. So he definitely deserved a Trevor Bauer, and we'll see. Do you think maybe he might end up being a White Sox uniform? I don't know, but
that would be nice, but I don't know. Let's see what Mr. LaRussa wants Jerry Reinsdorf to do now, since the quote-unquote the main guy in charge. So we'll see what happens with that. That will be nice because it'll create competition within your starting staff. Michael Kopech, your job isn't safe. I'm just saying. We'll leave that alone. But Trevor Bauer was the best pitcher for Cincinnati from start to finish, and he helped lead the Reds back to the playoffs for the first time in several years. Yu Darvish, I know he struggled a little bit towards the end of the season. You really can't fault him for that, but he was the Cubs' best starting pitcher from start to finish, and you can't really get too upset with that. Would have it been nice as a redemption story? Yes, but you can't really be upset with that. You really can't.
Yeah, he was definitely deserving of that award. And also rookies of the year, Kyle Lewis. I know we all picked Luis Robert, but Kyle Lewis, he was the second rookie to lead his team in average in both runs, home runs, batting average, and walks, and robbed a lot of guys of multiple hits and home runs. And he could probably be sort of like that building piece, because that Mariners team actually looks really good for the next couple of years, so they could probably compete next year. So what do you think?
Yeah, it would have been nice to have Luis Robert win the award for the American League, but yeah, he had a last month of the season he struggled at the plate, so that's what cost him. But I believe I heard this and I read this somewhere. This is the first time you have both African American players represented each league to win Rookies of the Year award. So congratulations to both those gentlemen.
Yeah, Devin Williams from the Brewers, the other.
We can't get upset at that.
Yeah, we can't get upset at that. I mean, look, we've been trying to get more diversity, and perhaps maybe, two African Americans winning Rookies of the Year. I think that'll probably give inspiration to young African American players that, maybe can make it into majors, and, both could probably be a cornerstones for their teams for years to come.
Yeah.
All right,
well said.
Managers. Oh, well, thank you. See, I try sometimes to be too. Managers, real quick. We actually had this one right in both the NL and the AL. Ricky Renteria, finished third, but the winner, as we all expected, was Kevin Cash from the Tampa Rays. And look, I mean, you can't really fault too much of it, because I think he was sort of one of the reasons, why that the Rays got as far as they did, making it to the World Series again for the first time in a lot of years.
And number two, they knocked off the Yankees, even though the Yankees were injured throughout the season. They had to go through the Yankees to win the AL East, so you can't fault them there.
Oh, and also Don Mattingly from the Florida Marlins. He's just the fifth player to ever win Manager of the Year and MVP. He won it back in the I think he won it like in the 90s, I want to say, during those Yankees teams. But also very deserving. He actually showing that he actually is a pretty good manager too. So, and Marlins made history too. Just a few hours ago, Kim Young. She is the first MLB, first female GM, and also the first Asian American GM. So congrats to her.
Yes. And also, too, for the Miami Marlins, what a year it's been for that franchise. You catch COVID, you go into the playoffs, you upset the Chicago Cubs in a wild card series. You pick up Manager of the Year, but you wrap it up by hiring your first Asian American and a woman to be your general manager. You can't go wrong with that. Only thing that's missing is a championship. I'm not promising the folks in South Florida a World Series soon, but 2020 has been a pretty interesting year, to say the least, and the Miami Marlins from the sports side of it represent that.
Yeah, she's got 3 World Series titles, being assistant manager for the Yankees and the Dodgers. So this is someone that has the pedigree. So this is not like, oh, this is a token hire. She actually is really good at her job, and she's actually well liked by a lot of her peers. So that's all you can ask for in this instance. And also congrats to Don Mattingly too. So, all right, Sid, are you ready to take that break?
Yes, I'm ready to take a 20 and refresh and get back at them from the home stretch.
All right, so we are going to preview Vikings and Bears. Also, we'll have our Week 10 NFL picks, and also college football sort of now all in the upheaval because with canceled games and found out parent players and coaches being tested for COVID. So we'll talk about that and more coming up next. Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
All right, folks, welcome back to segment 2 of Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Once again, I'm Lakeena McGee. You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And you can listen to this podcast along with the other podcasts from We Are Regal Radio. That's War Media, showing you up for you folks by simply searching for War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. Also, we're on iHeartRadio. Download the iHeartRadio app and type in that search engine box, War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. We're also on YouTube. You can only hear us, you can see us do our thing as well. You can watch us live. We are at War Media. Once again, WARR Media on that YouTube.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, that was we're still working on that.
Yes.
We're still
We're
working
building
on
the plane while we're flying it, folks. Building that plane.
Right. All right. So let's preview this Vikings Bears game. A couple of weeks ago, you could probably say that this game probably was a surefire win for the Bears, but not so fast lately. The Vikings have actually played a lot better, while the Bears have been, as Sid has been saying for the last few weeks, Bears poop. So what do you expect?
Hashtag Bears poop.
Hashtag Bears poop. We got to get that trending. What do you think about this game?
Well, despite what's been going on the last few weeks from the Monsters on the Midway, they still have a shot to win this game. Of course, Minnesota's coming in with a 3-5 record, 2-2 away from their new digs for the last few years at that new Dome Stadium. Here's the thing for the Bears. I think that they have enough to neutralize Dalvin Cook. I don't think he's going to run all over the Bears like he has run over the Packers and the Detroit Lions the last couple weeks at the Houston Texans game as well for Mr. Cook. But I think the Bears will have enough to neutralize Dalvin Cook. Well, what I'm concerned about starting with the defense for the Bears is, remember we talked about the game plan for the Saints a couple weeks ago, Alpha Kamara. The Saints did not utilize him in the running game. They used him in the passing game and just ran all through the Bears up and down the sideline. I'm afraid that's going to happen again. And if that's the case, Minnesota always used those screens in recent years against the Chicago Bears. That Bears defense is suspect to that. And if Kirk Cousins doesn't turn the ball over, and they used that Saints game plan from a couple of weeks ago, it's going to be a whole world of trouble for that Bears defense. I'm waiting for that aspect to play out. If it does, it's going to be a long night on the lakefront.
Yeah, I think if you're the Bears defense, I think that's what you want to do. You want to see if, perhaps maybe neutralize Dalvin Cook, where you kind of neutralized Derrick Henry last week. But like you said, so if the Vikings can do what the Saints did, using Cook in that aspect of it, because that's been sort of one of the few vulnerabilities of that Bears defense, it's going to be a long night. And if you can kind of force Kirk Cousins, who actually is, believe it or not, 0-9, on Monday nights, believe it or not. So that's an interesting little stat that I just found out. If you can kind of sort of, make him throw the ball, which, we know that he's prone to throwing interceptions, and sort of take advantage of that, then maybe you might have a chance to win this game. But I kind of have a feeling that I think Dalvin Cook, knows that he might try to be neutralized a bit, so they may sort of try to use him in those sort of slants. So if the Vikings can succeed, and their defense actually been is a lot better. I mean, they don't have some like the top guys. They don't have Xavier Rose. They don't have Emerson Griffin or guys like that. But Harrison Smith is still there. Anthony Harris is still there. Their defense they're young, but they're actually are getting better, and I think they're getting more and more confident. So if they see like red meat with that Bears offense, as bad as it's been, it could be a long night for Nick Foles, I should say, and the Bears offense.
You mentioned that Vikings defense has struggled throughout the season as they're going through some personnel changes, but that secondary, is suspect on paper, is still pretty good. Looking at the numbers, Eric Wilson, their linebacker, leads the team in interceptions with 3. Of course, Harrison Smith, as you mentioned, he's next in line with 2. But you still have linebacker Eric Kendricks, who's been there for years. He actually leads the team in total tackles with 84. He does not have a sack, but he can impact the game from the linebacker's positions, especially in that run game. So the Vikings defense, even though there's a bunch of known names on paper, they still can get the job done. We saw that last week with a victory over the Detroit Lions, knocking Matthew Stafford, their starting quarterback, out the game. Of course, we all saw what they did against the Packers a couple weeks ago in Lambeau.
Also, on the offense, you still got Adam Thielen. He's still pretty good, even though he hasn't been sort of the Adam Thielen that we've known the last couple of years. And also Justin Jefferson, who was Joe Burrow's top target when they were at LSU. So he's actually been really good too. So he might have a breakthrough game this time. So it's going to be one of those things where who do you trust more? Do you trust the Bears offense, or do you trust the Vikings offense? Do you think that the Bears defense can kind of tame the Vikings offense? But also, can the Vikings defense sort of make mincemeat out of the Bears defense and their inefficiencies? So it's going to all depend on who has a chance to exploit the other team's weakness more.
I think that's an interesting point. And another aspect to keep your eye on for the Bears offense, assuming that David Montgomery, the running back, comes out of concussion protocol, will this offensive line, whoever's in front of him, will they be able to stabilize their Vikings front 4 and let David Montgomery go off? And number 2, Allen Robinson. Yes, he had decent numbers last week, even although in a blowout, but can he take advantage of those young corners for the Vikings? Will he be able to have a breakout performance?
Yeah, I mean, you might be right about that, but like I said, it's all going to depend on who kind of like exploits the other's sort of shortcomings. I think that's going to be that's going to be the key here. I mean, I would say secondary wise, I think the Bears secondary will probably has a flash than the Vikings secondary. The front 7, I think maybe the Bears will have the edge there, but at the same time though, that offense is still. It still, infuriates me, Sid, and this. And I'm thinking, look, you saw what the Colts did. You saw what the Saints did. You saw what the Titans did, and we had Kayla Anderson on. That's an opportunistic defense. Like I said, we know Mike Zimmer's a defensive guy, and I think he's gonna look for that, to kind of exploit that and kind of try to make mincemeat and make Nick Foles sort of question some of his decision making. And Kendricks may have a couple of sacks. Who knows? He's due for it. He's due.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that out of the question. That very well may happen. But going back to the Bears defense, they will have the opportunity to feast up on Kirk Cousins, not only with the pressure, but create turnovers. Yes, Kirk Cousins, taking a look at his stats throughout the season, he has over 1,800 passing yards with 15 touchdown passes, but he also has 10 interceptions. And we know how good that Bears secondary can be with provided with pressure from that front four. And Kyle Fuller, Eddie Jackson, they'll be feasting up to perhaps have a couple opportunities to take the ball away from Kirk Cousins. And I think the Bears secondary will be ready. Now with Dalvin Cook, he has a total of 12 rushing touchdowns for the year. We all said that we want to see him neutralize if you're the Bears, but I'm really worried about Kirk Cousins. If the Bears cannot put any pressure on him, he could have a good night. And one of those players that can help Kirk Cousins have a good night is rookie wide receiver Justin Jefferson. He has 3 touchdowns on the year, but this kid's starting to come on as of late these last few weeks. Of course, you still have Adam Thielen there. He leads the team in touchdown receptions with 7, off of 37 catches for over 480 yards. And also they have a veteran tight end Kyle Rudolph as well. So the Vikings, they have some weapons. It's just that can this Bears defense, especially that front 3 and front 4, neutralize the running game and cause Kirk Cousins to turn the ball over a couple of times? Can they get constant pressure to the quarterback? If they can, they have a golden opportunity to win this ball game. But as we all know, Lakeena, as we have learned for the last month, it all comes down to that damn offense.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, that's going to be the thing. I mean, like I said, this could be a breakout game for that Vikings defense. They've been looking for one all year. They won a couple in a row, and that young, inexperienced front 7 is getting better. And we'll see how the O-line looks. Well, if Cody Wire is going to be back for this game on Monday, we haven't, apparently, I guess Matt Nagy doesn't know, apparently. So I guess.
What does he know?
I guess. But I think if he's not there, I think, that front 7 is going to make mincemeats out of Nick Foles. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in this game, Sid. I mean, I think a lot of scenarios could happen in this game, I think.
Yes, a lot of scenarios can happen. The one thing that's frustrating about this is the Bears do have a chance, but will they take advantage of the potential golden opportunities that the Vikings can serve up to them? Right now, I just don't know. But that's why they play the games.
Right, exactly. So when they I mean, look, like I said, there are about a dozen scenarios that could happen. I mean, could we see maybe Nick Foles having a breakout game and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns, and maybe Akeem Hicks has a pick 6 and they end up Bears winning, but also Kirk Cousins could have a 3 or 4 touchdown passes, and maybe one of their defensive guys has a pick 6, or maybe Dalvin Cook can somehow run through the Bears front 7 and get 2 or 3 touchdowns and they win, or maybe David Montgomery, if he's able to play, has that. So like I said, there are about a dozen scenarios that can happen in this game. So hopefully this will be a good one. And sorry for all of America, and all the Monday Night Football guys in case they stink again. But we can't control that.
Yeah, exactly. I know the Bears on a current 4-game winning streak from beating Minnesota going back to 2 years ago. We'll make our picks later, but like you said, it's a division game in Chicago on prime time. Like you say, anything can happen, and that's what makes it so hard as a Bears fan. But that's what makes it so good if you're an NFL fan. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if Nick Foles will talk to Brian Greasy again. Who knows what will happen with that conversation?
Oh, I doubt that.
That's probably not going to happen. So, no, we can guarantee that won't happen. But I mean, this might be a good one. I mean, like I said earlier, Sid. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, you probably say this would have been an easy win for the Bears, but now, because especially since the 2 teams are going in different directions, I don't know what's going to happen. All right, and on that note,
let's get ready for our Week 10 NFL picks. I want to see Lakeena tally up the numbers. Who's in the lead? I know I missed out on a few games, including that Bears game.
You're still up like 2 games, Sid. I mean, Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
even after all that.
Yeah, after all that, yeah, I think Lamont gained the game on you, but yeah, you're
Okay.
still up 2 games. I'm the one that had a bad week. Thanks a lot, Arizona. I'm like 4
I had
games.
them too.
I'm like 4 games behind you now. 4 games between us. You and between first place and last. But look, we're still.
What about Jason?
Well, he hasn't been sending me his picks. I think he's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
forget
Okay.
about it. But
Okay.
he's
But
plus he's busy, so it's fine.
yeah. Yeah, it still should be fun here. So we got a long way to go since we're officially the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, we're only a
So
week
I'm ready.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that game last night? I would have been wrong on that one. My God, I wasn't expecting that from the Colts.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts got dominating Tennessee on the road. Phillip Rivers actually showed up once. Jacoby Brissett scoring on a quarterback sneak. He's earned that paycheck as a backup, so he may be needed again before the season's out, but we shall see. But congrats to the Colts on that victory last night. The AFC South race, as we told you before the season started, even though I did pick the Colts, is going to go down to the wire. I know those two teams face each other one more time before the season's out in Indianapolis. So that race is going down to the wire.
Could very well end up being for that division too in their second meeting.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. All right, first up, I got Lamont's picks, folks, so don't worry. In the NFC East, the Eagles and the Giants. I'm just saying.
Who's playing the Giants?
The Eagles.
Give me Philadelphia.
I have Philly too, and so does Lamont. So no worry, folks. I got Lamont's picks right here. Next up, we got the Jags and the Packers. I know the Jaguars. They kept it close last week, but I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to have his best game. I know they lost one of their fullbacks for the year, but I think Aaron Rodgers will be just fine. I think the Packers will win, and I think they'll win pretty handily. It's going to be cold too, so.
If you're the Packers, hopefully you do not play it down to your competition, and let's see if their defense can have any backbone. They should be able to pad their stats. I'm going with the Packers in Lambeau.
and so does Lamont. All right, you got Washington and Detroit.
Ooh, this should be a pretty good game. Alex Smith almost led the Washington football team to a comeback victory. But he turned it over in last week's loss to the Giants. Of course, Detroit got hammered at Minnesota last week on the road. It's going to be close. I assume that Matthew Stafford is going to play as of this podcast. We're not sure yet. I'm assuming he's going to play. The Lions, they trick you 1 week, and then when you count them out, they win a game they're not supposed to win. I think this is going to be one of those games, and they'll get back to crawling back to 500. So I'm going with Detroit at home.
It pains me to say this, but you're right, Sid. I think Detroit, they're one of those tricky teams that just when you think, oh, we are figuring it out, and they'll count them out, then they end up winning a game not supposed to. So this is probably going to be one of those games. So I pick Detroit, and so does Lamont. Watch Alex Smith throw for 3 touchdowns. Jesus. Which could happen. Who knows?
Yeah, it could happen.
The Texans and the Browns.
Yeah, for Fox, I know Lamont's not here, but I'm sure he's listening. Calling that game for Fox would be your old school crew. And Matt Millen, nice to see him back and healthy and strong. Yep. And Dick Stockton.
Oh, I know he's loving that. My goodness.
Of course, Cleveland's coming off their bye week. They are 5-3, 3-1 at home. The Texans are 1-3 away from Houston's Reliance Stadium. Of course, they got their first road win at Jacksonville last week. They had to hang on for dear life, but they got it done. This is one of those tricky games. Lakeena, the Texans have a poo-poo record, but they still have Deshaun Watson. Cleveland, no Odell Beckham Jr., but they rely on their running game. I believe Kareem Hunt is back, and you also have, I forget the other running back's name for a moment. This is what happens to you. Your brain is scrambled, no pun intended. But the Cleveland has a strong running game. Baker Mayfield, you keep the ball out of his hands and stick to a game plan. Cleveland's at home. They should be able to get it done. I'm going with the Browns in a close one. This should be fun.
Yeah, this will probably be one of the most entertaining games in the slate.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think since they're coming back from a bye, I'm picking Cleveland. I just think that Cleveland might be sort of like on the cusp of sort of like maybe challenging for the wild card spot in the AFC. So I think Cleveland. I think Cleveland will probably win this game, and so as Lamont. Lamont has Cleveland as well. Should be a fun one there, though. All right.
Yep.
Interesting one here in the NFC South. You got the Bucks and the Panthers.
This is a pretty easy one for me. Tampa Bay gets embarrassed on Sunday night in front of the national audience. Antonio Brown made his debut, only a couple of catches, not making an impact. The offense did not make an impact. The defense got shredded by Drew Brees and the Saints. Carolina, as I mentioned on our last episode on Monday, they showed me something going against the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. It would not surprise me if they won this game. It's a division game. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher than people think for Tampa Bay. But I think Tampa Bay will be focused. They're going on the road. It's going to be close, but I see the Buccaneers pulling this game out between 3 and 7 points.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's not going to be in a very good mood. TB, Tom Brady's not going to be in a very good mood. I think Carolina will keep it close because I think that they have a lot of fight in them, but I think Tampa Bay will do just enough to pull away late. And Lamont agrees, so he's got Tampa Bay as well.
And plus, Tampa Bay beat Carolina early in the season, right before Christian McCaffrey was hurt.
Yeah.
I think he got hurt in that game as well.
Yeah, he's going to be out. He's out this week, so yeah, unfortunately.
No, so he got hurt in the earlier meeting, so.
Well, no, he's actually out this week too. So
wow.
Yeah, it actually came out like about an hour ago on they just announced it, so it'll be another tough one there.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
No problem. We're already in the 3 o'clock ones. Sid, you got the Chargers and the Dolphins.
This should be an entertaining game. Rookie quarterback Justin Herbert of as we call them, the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles. On this show, they'll be traveling to South Beach to take on the Miami Dolphins, who are 5-3. Coming off of a surprising win at Arizona last week, the Chargers, they poo-pooed again by losing to the Las Vegas Raiders in the last second there with that no catch for the touchdown. The Dolphins are at home. They have the better defense, and Tua doesn't have to do too much. But I expect the Miami defense to get some pressure on Justin Herbert. With that being said, I'm going with Miami.
Oh, it's another tough one for me, but I think it's going to be the Dolphins. I think their defense was just enough to win that game. I'm done with the Chargers, Sid. I'm done. I can't deal with them anymore. I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. 2 of those games that should have won. I'm literally like I'm at my wits' end with this Chargers team. Like, God,
you giving them their walking papers?
I am. I'm giving them their pink slip. See ya, Chargers. Bye. Bye. Like, okay, but again, watch Herbert have like his best game of his so far and have like 4 touchdowns, which could very well happen. But it's gonna be entertaining though, nonetheless. But I got the Dolphins win that one, and so does Lamont. All right, next up in the AFC West, you got the Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders, the aforementioned.
Another division game. The Raiders, as I mentioned, they made that game last week against the Chargers, may propel them to a playoff spot eventually. It's a home game for them. The Broncos are 3-5. This is going to be another close one, but I just have that sense that the Raiders are ready to turn that quarter. Running back Josh Jacobs, he's the goods. Derek Carr, the quarterback, is starting to turn around a little bit. Watch out for rookie wide receiver Jerry Jeudy for Denver. He had a great game last week at Atlanta. He's starting to come on. I don't know if Denver has enough firepower to keep up with the Raiders, but I expect Las Vegas to win this game by a close one.
It's going to be a close one, I think, since, of course, this is being the divisional game. But I think the Las Vegas has too much talent, and I think the Raiders will do just enough to win that game, I think. And so is Lamont. He also picks the Raiders. All right, this should be a fun one here over in Arizona, Sid. You got the Buffalo Bills and the Arizona Cardinals.
This is a tough one for me. And, of course, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, that loss last week hurts you because it drops you to 5-3. you may be in danger of missing the playoffs if you drop this one to Buffalo. But Buffalo made a statement last week, beating Seattle by 10, even though they dominated that game at home throughout the start. I could see the Bills dropping this one after having one of their biggest wins in the last couple of years. Arizona, they need to get back on track. This is going to be another toss-up game, but I hate making this pick. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to use some logic here. I'm going with Buffalo, even though they're going on the road for a late game.
Oh boy, this is an eeny, meeny, miny, mo game for me. Like the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, I have no freaking clue what's gonna happen. But I think, Sid, I think you just said it. I think this might be a letdown game for them. They may look at, Buffalo might look at Arizona and say, you know what? They lost a couple in a row. They may not, they may not be, their minds might not be in the game. So, and Arizona needs this win for tie-breaking purposes. They need to sort of keep pace. So I'm gonna bite the bullet here and say I'm gonna pick Arizona. Hopefully I won't look like an idiot again. Arizona, Kyler Murray, I'm going to be coming for y'all if y'all don't. So I'm picking Arizona, and so is Lamont. Lamont's picking Arizona as well. He'll be very entertaining. I'm going to be watching that game via my computer because remember that's a CBS game. Remember because of the Masters. So it's only a single header. So I'm going to be watching this game via my computer. You taught me well, Sid. 325.
Oh, thank you.
Should be a good one here. Well, maybe not. You got the 49ers in New Orleans.
I think Nick Mullins will be quarterback in that team for the 49ers.
Yeah.
Who else decides to show up and play? I'm sure they'll give their all, but the Saints have too much talent here. I can see them playing down to their competition a little bit, but they're at home. They have enough talent. I think they'll be able to get it done. So I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Saints too. If this was, if the Niners were in full strength, then maybe I probably would pick the Niners. But since they're not, and I think the Saints want revenge from last year. So I'm gonna pick the Saints. Also, of course, Lamont picks the Saints as well.
Well, yeah, we all know why. But real quickly, going back to that game last year, that was one of the best entertaining games of the year. I remember watching that one live. Oh, there was a whole lot of scoring.
That was like a basketball score for a second. Like game of the year, you probably say, or one of the games of the year. So I'm sure that New Orleans haven't forgotten that. And I'm sure they're going to want their revenge.
Yeah, I don't know if NFL Network's going to do it, but if not, you can look that game up in its entirety on YouTube.
Yeah. All right. NFC West, Seahawks and Rams.
The Rams, they had their bye week. Of course, they lost at Miami 2 weeks ago, so they'll be ready to go. Seattle got embarrassed, as I mentioned, with Buffalo. At Buffalo, 44-34. They're 6-2. Russell Wilson took a big hit in terms of his MVP chances last week. But I think he's still in the lead, but his margin is now decreased just a little bit. With that being said, it's a division game. The Rams really need this one. If not, they'll drop to 5-4. Seattle is in a comfortable lead. Not in a comfortable lead, but they're a game ahead of the Rams in the NFC West. I think this game will decide who will make it to the playoffs or not. If Seattle loses, it'll drop them to 6-3, and the Rams will own the tiebreaker. This is an important game. I think Seattle, even though their defense got shredded last week, I think they'll do enough to win, and Russell Wilson will be the difference on the other side. I have the Seahawks on the road.
Ooh, I'm going to pick the Rams. I think because I know Seattle's going to be very upset from that loss to Buffalo, but the Rams are coming off a bye. They're rested. Plus, they're also at home. So that's why that front seven for the Seahawks really does still scare me. And I think that Jared Goff will probably have his best game of the season. They haven't really had to depend on running much, but I think they will probably go for it because that front seven for Seattle is not very good. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Rams. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm picking the Rams. And I guess I'm saying that too because Lamont's got the Seahawks. But it'll be entertaining, though. I'll be watching this game, too, via my computer. Assuming I don't think it's going to – okay, yeah, that's probably not going to be the Fox game. It'll probably come on here.
Yeah, that's Fox's America's Game of the Week.
Oh,
So most
okay.
of the country would get that one.
I hope you do get it because it's gonna be an entertaining one. The other Fox game, Bengals and Steelers.
Let's get Big Ben off the COVID list. If that's the case, I'm picking the Steelers. This should be a fun quarterback matchup. It's a division rivalry game. Cincinnati has been playing better as of late. Of course, they coming off that victory against the Titans a couple of weeks ago. The Steelers are undefeated. They almost had a gap at Dallas last week, but they barely escaped Texas, Jerry's World with that victory. Assuming that Big Ben comes off the COVID list, which I think he will, I have the Steelers in the close one. I do not see this game as a blowout. Cincinnati is sneaky good. They're not playoff good. As we told you throughout the season, they'll be ready to compete for a playoff spot in a couple of years. Joe Burrow on the other side, that rookie quarterback for the Bengals, I want to see what he does against this very good Steelers defense. I got Pittsburgh at home.
It's going to be a close one. It's not going to be a blowout like I'm sure a lot of people are going to be predicting. I think they're going to keep it close. Not necessarily saying that they're going to play down their competition, but I think it's especially if Big Ben can't play. I know Mason Rudolph's been was very good. Kind of like pitch hitting for him, but I just think that the Cincinnati will probably stay in it, but I think the Steelers will pull away late. And
I'll definitely be watching that game in its entirety via my computer.
Oh yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this game too, and also Lamont's got the Steelers as well.
Okay.
All right, the Sunday nighter, you got the Ravens and the Patriots. Sorry, America. I know Calais Campbell is going to be out for the first time. I think since his rookie year. I don't think it's going to matter too much. I know the Ravens have kind of had their struggles lately on offense, but consider the fact that the Patriots defense is not very good this year because of all the deflections from, because of COVID. I think the Ravens is going to be one of those, even though they did win against Indy, I think this is going to be another one of those get-right games. I think the Patriots will keep it close, but I think the Ravens will pull away late. And we'll win by, I think, like 10, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lakeena. I'm going with Baltimore this well. I don't think it's going to be a total blowout, even though I can't see that. You have a matchup of two black quarterbacks with Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson. For the Patriots, where's your running game outside of Cam? You don't have one. And on the other side for Baltimore, can you get creative and be consistent on offense? I think the answer will be yes. So I have Baltimore winning this one on the road. They are 4-0 away from Baltimore this year.
Yeah, believe it or not. So, and also, Lamont agrees. He has Baltimore too. All right. Last but not least, the Monday Nighter, Vikings and Bears. I did that intentionally. The way I said it, so I did that intentionally. There's a reason why I did it like that.
Well, we always pick the Bears last, and until I usually go with logic and statistics and facts, but I'm gonna bite the bullet here. Until the Bears show me something, I'm going with the Vikings. Like you said, it's a division game. Anything can happen. Until the Bears show me something, I'm going with the Vikings.
I'm going to pick the Vikings too. I think, look, like I said, there's like about 100 different scenarios that could happen, but half the scenarios I'm not betting on. So I'm going to pick the Vikings just because I trust their offense just a little bit more than I trust the Bears offense. I know the defense, I know the Bears will get the edge there, but I think it's going to be one of those high scoring ones. It'll be like 24-20. I think the Vikings will pull it out. And so is Lamont. Lamont picks the Vikings too.
This ought to be very interesting.
Oh yeah, for not just that game, for a lot of these games. So those are our picks for week 10 of the NFL. So lots of good ones. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it should be fun.
As always, going to college football. Like I said in our teaser before we took our break, everything's kind of up in upheaval. Because now Arizona State and Cal have canceled their game because Coach Herm Edwards tested positive for COVID. And
hopefully he'll be okay.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be all right. That's the important thing. But also, I guess there were some false positives for Stanford for their game against Oregon last week. So turns out there was a testing error and there was a false positive. So those three players, unfortunately, I think their quarterback too. Unfortunately, that it ended up being false. They false positives. Look, unfortunately, these things happen, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those things where you just kind of knock your socks off in that sense. As you see, they've approved December 19th as a makeup date for any games that was postponed. So Auburn, Mississippi State, perhaps maybe Alabama, LSU will probably be played during that date as well.
Yeah,
So
CBS is they're throwing in the towel just to be kindly because they were expecting big viewership for that game. Now you cannot air that game.
yeah, and also you were hoping because of of course the Masters. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but
Mhm.
yeah, things are kind of sort of like being thrown into thrown to the wind here, Sid.
Yeah, and we expected something like this to happen for college football because most of these big time conferences started late. I still think they'll finish the season, but you thought that they were going to go through the season without any or little hiccups. You were kidding yourselves because we're in the second wave of this COVID-19 right now, and so it's affecting a whole lot of sports, mostly college football. The NFL too, to a certain extent, but college football is really receiving the ugly end of it right now.
And also, to Maryland and Ohio State, they were supposed to have played tomorrow, but that got canceled because of a COVID outbreak in Maryland. So we might be seeing more of these, Sid. But some of the games that will be played tomorrow, Miami and Virginia Tech should be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a good one there in the ACC. Northwestern and Purdue. Purdue hasn't played in a couple of weeks, so.
I guarantee you this: Northwest will make it to 4-0.
Yep. Also, too, you got Notre Dame and BC. That could be a trap game for Notre Dame, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yeah, especially after that big win at home last week against Clemson. And to stay on the local scene for college football, I know Lamont will be listening to this. 0-2 Illinois will travel to Rutgers, who are 1-2. Illinois is 0-3. Will Illinois get their first victory of the season on the road in New Jersey?
That'll be
I want to say yes, but I don't know.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Okay, Arkansas and Florida, that should be a good one. Wisconsin and Michigan, I mean, it's going to be at the big house. Wisconsin hasn't played in like 3 weeks, so I'm sure they'll be itching to get back into the game, getting back into it. Michigan, we'll see where their heads are.
If you Jim Harbaugh, I'm not going to say a give me game, but if I'm not going to say it's going to be a sure win for Michigan, but if this is not a golden plate for a win, I don't know what is.
Yeah, because I'm sure Wisconsin's gonna be very rusty because they haven't played a game in 3
Exactly.
weeks. So this could be one of those wins where you kind of one of those sort of get right games if you're a Michigan fan.
And of course, staying with the Big Ten, the battle of winless teams, and you could say both these teams are very disappointing starts. But 0-3 Penn State travels to Nebraska to face the 0-2 Cornhuskers.
I'm shrugging you guys see this. I'm shrugging my shoulders because I have no clue what's going to happen in this game. I mean, both, look, their fan bases, their coaches are looking for their heads. So we'll see who can win that game. I'm sure that's going to be one of the big noon games, I believe. So sorry, Fox viewers, if you got the.
That's on FS1, so not
okay.
too many people going to watch that one.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they probably won't watch it. But that Notre Dame BC game is almost like about 27 years to almost to the day that BC upsets Notre Dame at home. Not at home, they were on the road. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen this year, but they felt like they may have missed an opportunity beating Clemson. And this could be one of those games where I don't want to say that Notre Dame is going to be a letdown game for them, but I'll just say that Notre Dame should be on upset alerts. But
yeah, I'll agree with that. The big noon game for Fox this week will be TCU at West Virginia.
Okay, interesting. The Big 12 there.
At least that's what it says on my big TV guide.
That sounds about right. So the Big 12 here. Looks like maybe Oklahoma State. Can't wait for that game in a couple of weeks because I think that's going to be probably the big. That could be for the Big 12. I think. We'll see what happens there, but some interesting games here in week 11, and there's already word that maybe they might delay the college football playoff. You think? because
No kidding, right?
yeah, because of everything going on, and some states, they might be on lockdown again. So I honestly don't know what's going to happen here, but it's going to be one of those. We just got to wait and see, I guess.
Yep, we just have to wait and see. Also, one other game that of note before we move on. Actually, a couple of games for college. Saturday night, 3-3 Arkansas. They travel to Gainesville to take on the number 6 ranked Florida Gators, who are 4-1. And then to number 11 Oregon travels to Washington State. Shout out to Kayla Anderson, friend of the show, facing Washington State, the Cougars, who are 1-0.
Yeah, got a nice win against Oregon State last
That game
night.
will be on Fox on
Yeah.
Saturday night.
This Saturday night are on Fox, so that should be a fun one there. I'm sure Kayla's going to be cheering for her Wazoo Cougars, so might be a good one there. We'll see.
Also, number 2. Also, speaking of giving colleagues shout outs, shout out to Shay Pepler, her alma mater, the Indiana Hoosiers, ranked number 10. They'll play Michigan State on Saturday morning on ABC. Indiana's 3-0. Michigan State is 1-2.
Should be an interesting one there too. I mean, I know she's excited for her Hoosiers, and I know her husband Jordan Cornell. Sure, he's excited about his Irish. So I'm
yeah,
sure.
I don't know you've been on social media all week, but you was talking a whole lot of trash after last week's win.
I saw.
It was fun though. It was fun.
It was fun, but he kept it fun. He kept it light and fun. It wasn't annoying, which is a good thing, because I would have had to. He also, because I like him too, because I would have had to slap him if I didn't like him so much. Him and Mike Golick Jr. both. I mean, they were both just merciless last week. I'm like, I like you guys. Also Brady Quinn too. But yeah, so some fun ones, and also some weird things happening. Boise State actually was able to blow out Colorado State, even though they lost 14 of their guys to COVID. So, but they were able to blow out Colorado State last night. So, gosh, Sid, I mean, COVID is just, throwing everything kind of like in a spiral, and we'll see. We'll see if they can finish.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
All right, and
do you have our Masters update since we have a couple minutes left? Tiger had his best first round in his Masters career on Thursday.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like what I'm seeing. I don't know what he's doing right now. He's playing right now as we speak in the second round. But as I always say, if he makes it to Saturday, he has a great chance on Sunday. Of course, he's the defending Masters champion from last year. We all saw that great comeback story that he had throughout all the injuries and of course the stuff off the course. We're not gonna get into that. But it was a great redemption story. Can he dominate once again? But he has a lot of challenges ahead of him right now.
Gotta set it up right. I gotta set it up right, Sid, with the Masters music. It's gonna be very interesting, especially since we know game day is gonna be in Augusta this year because of this being in November. Your leaders right now, a couple of 20-somethings. You got Amber Answer from Italy, and you got Cameron Smith from Australia. Those are your top two.
Oh, not our Cameron Smith. Oh.
Yeah, totally different Cameron Smith. I don't know how his golf game is.
Rim shot.
But I don't know how his golf is. But yeah, this was Cameron Smith from Australia. They're tied at the top right now. Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson are tied for second. They're finishing up their rounds. You got Danny Willett and Tommy Fleetwood, a couple of Englishmen. I know that Sir Nick Faldo's will like that very much. Who's got 3 of these? Patrick Cantley, Paul Casey, Phil Mickelson's got a couple of these. Justin Rose, Louis Oosthuizen, also Ricky Fowler. Tiger parred the first hole, so he's still at 4 under. So yeah. So the cut line right now is at -1. I think it's a top 60 in ties, I believe, because of the way it's all set up. But yeah, so weather won't be an issue, so that's good. But also, interesting of note though, CBS has announced that if it goes over, after 2:30 our time, it'll be going to ABC, which is because of the partnership with ESPN. So sort of a special programming note there. But I mean, Tiger is still well within distance right now. We'll see how he does the rest of the round, but some good names at the top.
Yeah, like I said before, you're the golf expert, Lakeena. I'm not, but like I always say, I think Dustin Johnson will be right there. But I'm wanting Tiger so bad to make it to Saturday, and then if he has a great Saturday, he'll definitely be right there on Sunday. If you're CBS, you're really hoping for that. Maybe we'll have a Dustin Johnson Tiger Woods matchup once again.
Oh, it should be. Oh, that'd be a fun one. Bryce DeChambeau, for those who are asking, he's at -2. He just parred the first hole. He's in the second hole right now. And it's interesting too, Sid, because they're doing split tees. So some guys are starting over at Amen Corner, which God help them. But yeah, so it's gonna be the whole setup's gonna be very interesting because of it being November, and then of course the days are shorter, so. Is CBS having other programming commitments? So if you're CBS, you hope that things kind of go out without a hitch. That there's no sudden death playoffs or anything like that.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to be playing in the dark. You don't have lights. This is old school Wrigley Field before '88. You don't have any lights. We'll be playing in the dark.
Exactly. So should be a fun one. Like I said, it's going to be nice all weekend, so weather will not be an issue. So but yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So we'll have an update for you on Monday. Also, a couple of college hoops notes here. Both Cameron Indoor and DePaul have all said they're not going to have any fans this year. It's going to be very different looking over at Cameron with no one being there. It's going to be very weird. Some of these arenas.
And Coach K won't be yelling at them.
You'll actually be hearing Coach K yelling at the players, actually. So
exactly.
But it's going to be a very weird. We didn't get a chance to go get to this with Brooke, but it's going to be a very weird dynamic with some of these stadiums. I don't know what's going to be over at Fog Allen or Rupp down in Kentucky, but it's going to be very weird not having very limited, if not no crowds at all.
Yeah, it's going to be weird, but as we always say, it all comes down to money at the end of the day. Hopefully, if this COVID situation lightens up a little bit, maybe by March Madness time and conference tournament time, you'll be able to have limited amount of fans in these stadiums.
It also definitely helps in the revenue too, because a lot of those programs really need it, especially now with the Ivy League saying that they've canceled all their sports for winter. So it's gonna be very tight. All right, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Just real quickly, Keena. We had to give our tribute to Bulls Outsiders on NBC Sports Chicago. The news came out earlier this week that program has been canceled by NBC Sports Chicago. Of course, the situation we're going through right now with this pandemic, advertising dollars are not there as it once was, obviously, before this pandemic. Of course, our good colleagues and friends of this show, Matt Peck and Alana Tech Hour, they sent out their messages thanking the fans for supporting that show over the past couple of years. Thanks to NBC Sports Chicago for putting that program on after the Bulls post-game show, which is hosted by Jason Goff. We're working on getting him on this program hopefully very soon. It was a very interesting program to watch. Hopefully they continue it digitally and or podcast form in the future. Also, shout out to David Watson and John Sabine. They were also a part of that show as well. They brought great content to Bulls fans over the last couple of years. So, and I actually tweeted it to our good friend Matt Peck. Sorry to hear the news, but hopefully you guys can continue. So I think they will continue. They have a big enough following, and they are a big outlet for Bulls fans to go to voice their opinions about the team in red.
Right, and with the Bulls actually might be competent again. You got a competent coach, you got a competent front office now. So yeah. I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of Matt and John and Dave and Alana. I think you'll be seeing them very soon, if not for their own YouTube's channels and whatnot. So, and the content is there, the following is there. I think you'll be hearing. I think they'll be back. I have a feeling they'll be back.
Yeah, it sucks that we won't be seeing them on our televisions coming this winter and spring. But like you said, they have a big enough following, and I'm sure they'll find a home somewhere and just create something like what we're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I think they'll be fine. I think Matt even said stay tuned. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Who knows? We'll pass it on to you once we get that news. So, but once again, say what are you looking forward to this weekend? Big sports.
College football, a little bit. Like I said, I'm guaranteeing Northwestern will go 4-0. Maybe they'll play Indiana in the Big Ten title game. We'll see, but I know it's too soon to claim that. But we'll see about that. Of course, action on Sunday is some very interesting games there, especially in the late window. And of course, the Bears poop on Monday. And I know the NBA draft is coming up. We'll discuss that more in our next episode. And we have a surprise for you in our next episode. We'll have Terrence Tomlin and Eugene McIntosh from It's the Bigs. We'll have them on during our show in our next episode. We'll get into all the topics around Chicago sports and then some. Those guys, we had Terrence in studio last year, Lakeena. He was great. Of course, working with the Dean Davis Show, now that Davis Show, we had them on numerous times in studio. Those are great guys. They're really putting their feet into the ground, covering Chicago sports from a different angle.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be great having them on our next
Mm-hmm.
podcast. I'm looking forward to, like you said, college football, of course, the NFL, a lot of great matchups. Also, of course, the Masters going to be kind of weird, having it on in November, but we'll see who, can Tiger emerge or Dustin Johnson get his first green jacket, or maybe Phil. Phil might have something to say about it. He might get his third, so who knows? Or fourth. I think it will be his fourth. But yeah, so it's going to be fun. It should be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get the guys from the Bigs. I'm looking forward to having both of them on because we only had Terrence on, so I'm glad we'll be able to have both of them on, covering all types of topics. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you guys look out for that. But also, listen for this podcast too. Our thanks also to Brooke Weisbrod from ESPN, cover a lot of things, hoops related, also her sneaker collection. So, it was a great show, Sid.
Yes, it was a great show. Can't wait till the next one as we bring you this hot content. And things are going to get interesting. Like I said, the NBA, we all know there's the 2021 season now. Of course, there's always things to talk about with the Bears and college football. Hopefully, Northwestern will go 4-0, as I guaranteed. And so it should be a lot of fun.
And on that note, you follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena is going to be on the IG.
You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can go to weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com to find our podcast, articles, and other special features. War Media, as far as our podcasts are concerned, including Second City Sports, just simply search for War on Anchor. Wherever you download your podcast, that's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. Also, we on iHeartRadio. Download that iHeartRadio app, please, and type in that search engine box War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. And we're also on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can watch our podcast as well as listen to it.
And also,
you can see our lovely faces.
Ta-da! And also, make sure you like and subscribe and tell your friends. So we gotta get those likes up on our YouTube channel. So tell your friends. So for Sid, I'm Lakeena. Be safe out there, guys. Keep your hands washed. Wear your mask properly and be good to each other. And we'll be back on Monday with more Second City Sports Zoom style.
Till next time, holla.